Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I feel pretty freaking awesome, man.
Good, man.
Yeah, you?
Feeling good as well.
Yeah, you look good.
Well. Thanks. Yeah, ready to get back in the gym.
Yeah.
After a week off from waiting on a negative COVID test result. Thank God it came in.
Jeez, dude. I don't even want to talk about COVID and test results. But yeah, I feel good, man. I'm not wearing a hoodie or sweatpants in to record for the first time in a while. So
yeah, looking hip with the flannel.
I feel almost dressed up.
Nice.
Yeah. No, this is Andrea loves flannel, so every now and then I like to spoil her by wearing a flannel.
What a nice guy.
I do it for her. You know what I mean? Like that's how deep my love goes.
Husband of the year right there.
Yeah. Well, so you're negative on COVID, so that's a good thing. So we can sit close again and record.
Yep. And get in the gym and train, and things are going well. Despite all this uncertainty with what's happening, we're just staying the course and doing what we do with my team over here and enjoying life, man.
And this episode should air right around Thanksgiving. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to celebrate this year?
I will be down in San Antonio, Texas, with my family, my mom's side of the family, my mom, brother, Courtney, and it should be fun.
Okay, so you guys are celebrating as a family.
Yep. We'll be heading down to San Antonio that Wednesday and staying through Sunday. It should be a good time.
Well, I ask because I see certain places in the country are telling families to cancel Thanksgiving. But yeah, we're celebrating as well. We'll stay here in Fort Collins and have family and friends over if they want to come, and we're gonna do our thing, man. I'm not canceling. Honestly, Thanksgiving is one of my favorite days of the year.
Yeah,
I've always liked it. I don't know exactly why, but I do, and I'm not canceling that shit. I feel like we already gave up too much this year.
I agree.
4th of July had no fireworks. Most people's birthdays they didn't celebrate earlier in the year because they couldn't be around each other. And
yeah, be smart about it. If you feel sick, go get a test, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not giving up turkey and stuffing and gravy, man.
Yeah, no way, man. Turkey, gratitude, community, can't beat it. I'm
sticking with gravy, dude. I have Thanksgiving is my one day of gravy a year.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I like gratitude and thankfulness and stuff like that's good, but I'm really on that gravy.
I'm more of a stuffing guy.
Do you put gravy on your stuffing?
Yeah, a little bit.
No.
But I don't like to douse it.
No, you got to douse it.
Yeah?
Because then you got the roll and you get to soak it up. Yeah. But you got to wear sweatpants for Thanksgiving dinner.
For sure. That's
a guarantee. Have room to expand.
And the flannel.
Oh, yeah. I actually took a nap the other day in a flannel shirt and sweatpants, and my family's like, Jesus, you look like a grandpa. But you know what?
What?
It was a good fucking nap.
I bet.
That's why grandpas wear that stuff.
They know what's up.
Grandpa's not a nap.
Yeah.
Little known fact in the world, grandpas, the best nappers.
Shout out to all grandpas out there.
There's got to be a grandpa day somewhere on the calendar, huh?
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, there was grandparents day.
Grandparents, yeah. I'll have to look that up. Wonder if there's a day of napping.
I'm sure, man. There's a day for everything these days.
I would like to
National
make
Nap
sure
Day.
we celebrate nap day.
Mm-hmm.
You like naps?
When I need them, I really like them, but I tend to not really take naps very often.
Oh, dude. 20 minutes.
Yeah?
Good 20-minute nap. Oh, that's the best. One of the best things ever.
Yeah. At times,
a lot of cultures like literally shut down business for like an hour in the middle of the day so everybody can get a little siesta in.
Yeah. That's just Spain, I think. I don't know anyone else who does that.
We were in Germany. Yeah, when I lived in Germany, like their downtown area was shut down. I don't know if it was like noon to 1 or 1 to 2, but yeah, it was like their lunchtime, a little power nap. Yeah, I think it's a big European tradition outside of Spain. Any of you from Europe can let us know.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been to Germany too, but I don't remember any siestas.
Well, they might not call it that because that would be Spanish. They would call it something else with a hard F at the end.
Right.
Yeah. All right, what are we talking about today, Mr. Ali?
Episode number 88, the purpose of grieving and mourning.
88?
88.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many weeks are in a year again?
52.
That's a lot of episodes.
Coming up on 2 years.
Yeah, that's good. The purpose of grieving and mourning.
Yeah, and I threw this episode together because we had an awesome email from a new listener, Miss Martha. Appreciate your email last week.
In California.
We read that, and she let us know that she came across our podcast from searching about grief. I'm not sure, she didn't let us know which episode she found, but she did let us know that she went back, listened from the beginning, got all caught up.
She listened to every episode.
Yeah, which is very impressive. So I was like, you know what, the least we can do is talk about something that she was seeking. And I think that this is going to be a very productive conversation because this is something that we all experience in life at some point or another. Grieving, mourning, deep sadness. I actually pulled up the Google definitions here. So grief, or to grieve, the verb to grieve is literally to suffer, grief. And then mourning is the expression of deep sorrow for someone who has died, typically involving following certain conventions such as wearing black clothes. So mourning is more specifically tied to the death of somebody, but grieving, you can grieve the loss of not only a life, but a relationship, the loss of an object. You can suffer and be in deep distress grieving without necessarily needing death. So kind of wanted to talk about the purpose of grieving and mourning and see where this episode takes us.
So help me understand in the definitions here. So grief is more the feeling and mourning's like an action? Is that what you're thinking?
So to grieve is a verb, to suffer, yet to feel grief for or because of. I believe they're both verbs. Mourning, also the expression of deep sorrow for someone who has died. I think the biggest difference here is mourning is specifically tied to someone who has died. But grieving and mourning are both the expression of deep sorrow.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. So what do you think is the purpose of these emotions then? Why do you think we go through that stage?
It's an interesting thing because, especially when we talk about death, because there are some cultures there, it's all perspective, right? There are some cultures in the world that celebrate death. Like, oh, you died, you get to go to heaven. Oh, like it's a party, it's a celebration. Right. In our culture, it's a mourning process, it's a grieving process to where we wear black, we're typically sad, there's a eulogy. It's typically a sad event, but I think that when it comes to experiencing emotions, whatever you believe, God made us, whoever made us, we experience a whole spectrum of emotions, and sometimes we can't control it. Sometimes you wake up on the right side of the bed, you're feeling good, ready to go. Sometimes you wake up and you're like, what the hell? I don't even want to get out of bed today, and these emotions, we can't control always what emotions arise in us, but we can control what emotions to focus on. So I think when it comes to grieving and mourning, when we lose something, most of us naturally feel these quote unquote negative emotions that are more tied to the loss of something: sadness, anger, frustration, loneliness. And with any emotion, if you suppress it, if you try to be strong and not cry and not be sad, typically what happens is it kind of has this spring compression type effect, right? If you're pushing these emotions down, at some point they're all going to spring back up harder as opposed to kind of letting them work through you. So I think the purpose of grieving and mourning is to allow certain emotions to work through you in order for you to get back to, your equilibrium type of state. That's what I think. What about you?
Yeah.
What do you think the purpose is?
Well, I think because we're emotional beings and we're on an emotional spectrum, and it allows the spectrum to go full circle, right? Like if on one side of the spectrum you have happiness and joy and cheerfulness and love, and on the other side you have sorrow and unhappiness and sadness and grieving, you're whole when you go through the whole cycle. And I think that's where, to me, this really ties into like social media, right? Like if you think of that cycle, right, you got the happiness on one side, you know, the positive feelings on one side and the more sad, deeper feelings on the other side. Take social media, for example. If I post pictures, when people post, it's usually all on one side. It's like the happiness, the best days, the cars. Well, that's not really your life, right? Like there's some days you don't feel happy. There's some days you don't feel sad. But if we only try to stay here, we literally eliminate the other part of our processing. And to me, that's kind of the danger of some of the lives we lead nowadays, where we don't want anybody to see us on a bad day. We don't want anybody to see a picture of us without our makeup on or without our hair done. And then you take that internal. Now we don't want people to see us not at our jubilant best. We don't want people to see us on a day that we are sad for something or we are missing something.
Yeah.
And I think that is the fact that you even said it in your thing, quote unquote, negative and positive emotions. The fact that we even assign positive and negative to any emotions is not healthy for us, because we are emotional structures. We're emotional beings. Like in one day, I should go through probably all my emotions. That's a good day, right? That means I had a whole full day. I should be happy. I could be sad. I could be joyful. I could grieve a little bit because I went through my whole process. We have this artificial idea that I'm supposed to be here all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a big component for our mental health issues, for just overall unhappiness in society, and quite honestly, for why we want to attack each other, whether it's through social media. I'm not talking about physical attacks, but I'm just talking about like always coming at one another, not truly listening to each other, because we're hiding behind one side of emotions and not dealing with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that what makes it so hard is that our society, we mean well. You know, we want to be there for each other, and we want everyone to feel these positive emotions. And I think the reason why we label them as positive and negative is positive are the emotions that we want to feel more of, right? We want to feel happy more. We want to be laughing. We want to feel grateful. We want to feel all the positive emotions, to where feeling sad and angry, as much as sometimes it's best for you to feel and go through those emotions, those aren't emotions that we want to feel very often.
Right.
So they're labeled as more negative. So I think our society, not only do we not want to feel them, but for ourselves, but I think we also, a lot of us don't want to be that person, right? You don't want to be that downer. You don't want to show up and, I mean, we've had an episode about this, you good. You know, you don't want to be like, I'm not good and vent, or you don't want to be the complainer, because of how our society is. We place such a higher value on positivity, on being this positive person, on uplifting others around you, and not being somebody who brings others down. Let me ask you this then. Okay.
If that's true, if what you said is true, that we place such a value on being a positive, uplifting, why aren't more people positive and uplifting? Just take inventory of all the people that you run into in a day. How many truly are positive and make you feel better about yourself just being around you?
I would say most, but only because I make an intentional effort to make the interaction like that.
See, I would argue that few actually uplift you, but you uplift them with your energy.
And then it comes back to me.
Exactly. See, that's what I would say. I would say, and if you just look, if you don't interact with them, just walk, like today when we go out, walk around and watch, how many people generally seem like they're on that upper vibrational echelon? It's not many.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And I think part of that goes back to I think it might have actually been our very first episode, vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't I show grief? Why don't I come to somebody that I love like you and say, Ali, man, I'm anxious today. My heart's beating. My head's racing. Like, I just don't have answers. Why don't I? Because I'm so worried about what you're going to think of me and that you're going to think less of me that I want to hide all of that. Right? So when do I grieve? When do I sit and be sad? By myself.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't at all. I go drink. I go smoke. I do something to suppress it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not that I don't want these feelings. Well, I don't want the feelings. But in order to not have the feelings, I have to work through them. And working through them usually means I'm going to somebody else. I'm processing it, which means other people can see me go through that cycle. Or I suppress it. And I think the positive and negative is a hindrance to us. Because, yes, everybody wants to feel more happiness and less sadness, more joy, less grief. But truly, how do you get more of that? By processing what sadness you have. Mm-hmm. Think about it, if I don't process my sadness, where does it go?
Stays with you.
Which now stays longer. And then instead of looking at today's interaction and being happy, I'm still coming from a frame of being sad. So then I probably find more stuff to be sad about. You know what I mean? Like, it's what we've talked about before, where our energy attracts our energy. I think it's the same for our feelings. If I am sad and I don't want to admit I'm sad, and I suppress being sad, well, I can fake being happy, but really I'm sad. Mm-hmm. So what do I see? I usually bring in more sadness. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think it's kind of a misconception that everybody needs to be happy. Yeah, I want to be happy, but in order to truly be happy, that means it's okay to be sad.
Yeah.
Because how do I appreciate happy if I'm never sad?
Right.
You know, and I'll tell you, the last 6 months has been a great, I won't say a great awakening, because I think that may be overstating it, but a very humbling time for me. And that, like, think about this. I've been in the military. I've been a college athlete, 21-year policeman. I've had guns pulled on me. I've fought dudes that wanted to shoot me with rifle. Like, I've done scary stuff. I have never felt my heart race and my mind go and just felt so out of control as I was in like March, April, May, June. Never. Physically, mentally, never felt like that. But I shared it. Mm-hmm. Even though it was foreign to me, and I'm like, I don't know why I talked to you. I talked to my wife. I talked to Ryan. So now, if I start feeling that way, I don't feel shame about it. I don't feel embarrassed. I'm like, okay, let me see. I talked to Ali. He gave me some ideas. Okay, yeah, I'll work through this through my breathing, through meditation, through thinking it through. Why am I feeling this way? And attacking it versus suppressing it. Mm-hmm. But imagine how many people out there right now have that same kind of feeling, but they don't want to be vulnerable to somebody else. They don't want you to change their opinion on because, well, this person has a status around you. They don't want to lose that, so they will never talk about being sad, being anxious, grieving something, because they only want you to see them here, and that's extremely unhealthy.
Yeah, that gets really heavy. So I think a big part of it, you're right, is that people don't want to be vulnerable, but I think a lot of us also may be on autopilot and may not identify, oh shit, I'm feeling sad, or oh shit, I'm kind of feeling angry, to where they don't take the time to observe and identify emotions arising, mm-hmm. and then just feel, I don't want to feel this way, so let me drink, or I don't want to feel this way, let me smoke, let me change my state, or let me go do whatever, right? Some sort of distraction. And in this day and age, we have billions of distractions. I mean, we have our phones, we have media, we have so many things to take our mind off whatever it is that's causing an unpleasant or negative emotion to arise. So how do you think people that struggle with that, how does one, first of all, identify the emotions that are arising within them?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both of us, just sitting with things is important, right? I think we both talked about that. Like if we're feeling something, instead of immediately dismissing it and trying to replace it through stimulus, we ask ourselves, okay, why do I feel this way? Why am I feeling anxious right now? What just changed? Like, and I think that's something that we could really benefit from a society teaching our children, is to not immediately try to distract from what they're feeling, but to sit for a second and ask, why did I just start feeling this way? Mm. But you're absolutely right. And I think if you look at our society, the first minute we start feeling something that's a little discomforting, we try to distract ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Even like you're at a restaurant.
Oh, dude.
And, we're sitting together and you get up and go to the bathroom.
First
the
thing
slight discomfort of not having some sort of stimulation with somebody speaking to me, grab my phone.
Yeah.
Right. And I notice that a lot too. That's why I have, by the way, guys, I highly recommend doing this if you haven't done this already. I've talked about it multiple times, but I have all notifications turned off of my phone except the ping app, which is when someone's on bnails.com. And since that's the only message. But other than that, I have to open my text messages to see who texted me. I have to, because when my notifications were on, it's been like almost 2 years now, but it's insane. Dude, how much everything lights up, whether it's news or a social media like or comment or post. And it's just so, we're addicted. We're on our phones so much to where, yeah, of course it's.
Which then ties into your feelings are being externally manipulated. Mm-hmm. You're not sitting with how you truly feel. You're waiting for somebody else to make you feel good. And if you see something you don't agree with, you feel angry. Mm-hmm. Right, and I think that is just harmful for us.
Yeah.
We need to be able to sit with our feelings, mm-hmm. not have somebody else dictating them.
On top of, while our feelings are being dictated, we're continuously suppressing these original feelings that are coming up, right? Yeah. Because of these constant distractions. So we're suppressing, and it comes up. Outbursts, mental health, suicides, so many sad things that happen, outbursts, things you say that you might not ever be able to take back, whatever it is.
And who's it usually come out on? The people you love the most, mm-hmm. right? The people that all of a sudden one minor thing that a spouse or a child or a loved one does and you erupt. And it's not because of what they did. It's because of all the things that have been building up that we didn't deal with along the way. Mm-hmm. And that's why, right now with the current situation, yeah, a lot of the stuff you mentioned is at all-time highs and really impacting communities. And I think a lot of that is we have feelings that are foreign to some of us. Like for me, this anxiousness and the high heart rate and the racing thoughts, I had never felt that. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, I'm around you and I study stuff and I'm like, okay, this is not how I normally feel. Mm-hmm. I got to figure this out. Like what is going on? Versus people that don't embrace feelings and haven't evolved to the point where they're okay not being okay.
Yeah.
And they turn to alcohol or they turn to whatever. And the next thing you know, what's been a bad 6 months, maybe a bad year, puts their life on a completely different trajectory.
Yeah. And that worries me, Jared. And that's why I think this episode is so important for our community and our communities, because you're a very evolved person. You're a coach, you're a father, you're a leader, you're an author. We speak on this podcast every week. There are lots of things that you're doing that help combat these daunting emotions during this time. Yet you're still having to work pretty hard
for sure
to work through them. So I can only imagine people who don't have all of the things that you have around you helping you work through these, how difficult that can be. And that's why I think this episode is a very important one to really think about how you are identifying your emotions and then working through them. So just to kind of recap, both Jared and I have read Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. I think that's a great read if you're looking to do better at identifying your emotions. You know, if some of this is resonating with you, if you're like, damn, that's me. I go to alcohol, or I go to weed, or I go to pills, or I go to my phone, or I go to Netflix, whatever it is, whatever distractions, then practicing stillness is going to be huge. You can find out those emotions simply by journaling. Talking to yourself in the mirror, literally asking yourself, hey, Ali, what are you feeling right now? What is it? Is it anger? What is it? Finding out and then sharing. I'm very grateful to have Jared here every week, and we can get deep on topics. Like, not only is this our intention is to, of course, serve the community and give you valuable insight, but this is valuable for us as well, just being able to come in here and share. So that first part is very important of, first of all, identifying. Then my next question for you, Jared, is once you identify that, how do you think are the best ways to work through it? So let's say you identify grief, and you're like, I'm really grieving over my grandpa who passed away a few weeks ago, or, you know, family, whatever it is. How do you work through that?
One, I think you accept it as normal, and that's okay. And then for me, grieving is sadness, right? Like you're missing something. So what I've tried to do is, instead of focusing on what I'm missing, think about what I'm thankful for. And I'm thankful for let's say my grandpa, for example, he passed away a year ago. I'm thankful for the time he let me almost knock down the whole fence of the cabin driving the car when I didn't have a license. And he just put me behind the wheel, never asked me if I'd ever driven anything, right? I'm grateful for that moment. I'm grateful for the time that I shot the holes in his water bucket with the BB gun, and he got super pissed when he went over to get his bucket full of water and it was empty. You know what I mean? So it's shifting, right? Because I can be sad that I miss him and that I'll never see him again, or I can take that sadness and reflect it on what was I happy for? What will I miss? Those moments. And when I think about those moments, right, when you relive the moments, you're still there. That's why it's called reliving a moment. So if I relive the moment of when I almost knocked down the whole fence at the cabin, I laugh. When I relived the moment of watching him pick up the bucket that I shot all the holes in, so he had a bucket to collect the water at his pump. And I was a city kid, so I didn't have guns. So when I went out to the country there, I was like, I'm going to shoot this gun all day. So I must have shot 1,000 holes in this bucket. But I knew it was his bucket. So when I was done shooting, I spun it around the other way. So when he walked up, he just saw the good side. But on the back side, all the water was, because the water dripped in and it was gushing out all the holes. So he picks it up and he's like, so anyhow, so I see that and I start laughing. So that replaces it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean I don't miss him. But I get to relive my memories. And I think that's a powerful term, right? When you relive things, it's like you're right there. So then my grief turns into, man, I'm thankful for that memory.
Yeah.
And I can still chuckle about it. And then he's not gone. He's right there in my memory.
Yep.
You know, I would say that's probably the best thing I've done, and, you know, and relived many aspects of life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think you're absolutely right. I think gratitude is huge. Really, any of these positive behaviors, there we go again, right? Quote unquote positive, but these positive behaviors that make you feel good, doing things that make you feel good, reliving the positive moments, exercising gratitude for those positive moments, and then even things that make you feel good outside of the situation, going to get a workout in, going out in nature, spending time with family. Jared was mentioning earlier how important it is to talk it out.
Yeah.
Now, that's why people pay hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of dollars to counselors, right? Most of the time, they're just listening. It's just, you're doing most of the work talking it out. So sharing that grief with someone that you love and trust, or a therapist, whatever it is, can be very beneficial too. But very important point, take your time. Don't rush it. Remember, there is a purpose to the grieving and mourning, and that's okay. It's normal. Sometimes you need to do what you feel you need to do. Sometimes you may need to yell. you may need to cry. You may need to scream. You may need to hit some shit. You may need to hit the heavy bag. It can be a very painful process, and it's okay to take your time with the grieving. It may be a couple days. It may be a couple weeks. But I think before you try to jump into the positivity, the healing process, it's really important to allow yourself the grieving in the mourning. And that's okay. It's just not okay to stay there. There has to be a point to where you're like, okay, I cried, I yelled, I hit some shit, I screamed, whatever you got to do. And now it's time to take action on the healing process, which is everything we were just talking about.
Yeah, I agree. It's important that we allow ourselves to be full emotional beings and not just try to live on one side or the other. Because it goes both ways. You get the people that are always, quite honestly, for a lot of people, if they're always happy, some of the time they're pretending, right? Sometimes it's not necessarily happiness. It's just what the role they've assigned themselves. Mm-hmm. They get the people that are completely depressed all the time and always sad. And I think both are equally important to go through, but it's a cycle. Like, we shouldn't try to force ourselves to be one emotion or another. Like, we're supposed to be emotional creatures, and that means all emotions.
Yep. Feel it all.
Good?
Yeah.
Martha, thanks again for the email, for helping us with this topic. And for all of you out there, we appreciate you tuning in every week or whenever you can to get caught up. Like Martha listened to all, 87, 86 episodes and sent us notes on a bunch of them, so we really appreciate that. And if you want to join and go deeper with the community, jump over to Patreon and subscribe there. And really, we're thankful for the place you give us in your lives and allowing us to serve you.
And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.